Kirby and the Forgotten Land may be Kirby's first real 3D adventure, but it doesn't feel like that because of how fun and refined the gameplay is. When it comes to transitioning from 2D into 3D, it doesn't get much better than this. Forgotten Land manages to keep everything that made the classic Kirby games amazing, while adding in so much more to become one of my favorite 3D platformers of all time. One of the most impressive things about this game to me is how smooth everything feels. From the loading screens to the platforming itself, everything in this game feels really polished. Kirby's animations are fantastic. This small pink puffball has never felt more lively and energetic. His cuteness is also turned up to 11, which is much appreciated. Actually controlling Kirby also feels really good. His movements are responsive and precise, so running and jumping through all the different levels is lots of fun. Copy abilities make a return, bringing classic ones back like the Sword, Hammer, and Ice. There's also 2 new copy abilities this time around, being Drill and Ranger. These abilities are as great as ever. They change up the gameplay and keep things fresh by constantly giving Kirby new moves. My 2 favorites are probably the Sword and Ranger abilities. Both make combat really fun and engaging. Kirby with a gun is probably the best thing to happen in gaming all year. All the copy abilities are great though, and I really enjoyed switching between them often. There are a total of 12, which is fewer than previous Kirby games, but this time there's an upgrade system that lets you improve each copy ability, which totally makes up for the small number of included abilities. Upgrading power-ups is a genius idea that gives the game so much more depth, and it's surprising that Kirby was the first to implement this idea and not Mario. It gives the game a sort of progression system, where Kirby becomes more and more powerful as you play. The other big feature alongside the copy abilities is the brand new Mouthful mode. Kirby can now suck up objects way bigger than him and stretch himself out to control them, which may look a little disturbing, but it's tons of fun. Driving and jumping around in a car, shooting soda cans out of your mouth as a vending machine, and zooming up and down as a roller coaster car is all so much fun, and it adds a lot of variety to the gameplay. There's so much creativity put into the Mouthful mode transformations. It reminds me of the captures from Super Mario Odyssey, which is a very good thing to be compared to. There aren't as many Mouthful modes as there are captures in Super Mario Odyssey, but the copy abilities more than make up for that. And the levels themselves are super well designed, and they make great use of both the copy abilities and Mouthful mode. There are plenty of hidden collectibles in each level that require you to switch between lots of different abilities if you want to get them all, creating gameplay that is constantly varied and enjoyable. There are multiple different side objectives for each level, like eating 4 donuts at a Livel Mall. These side objectives always keep you on your toes and give you something to go back and do later in the levels. There aren't very many levels in each world, but each one is so big and highly detailed that I'm totally okay with it. This game definitely feels like quality over quantity when it comes to the main levels. However, there are some side challenge levels that are pretty fun, but there are just way too many of them. There's about 2 challenge levels for every 1 normal level, which can feel like filler at times. Forgotten Land offers 2 different difficulty levels, Spring Breeze mode and Wild mode. I played on Wild mode the whole time, which honestly just felt like normal difficulty to me, but that's good since Kirby games usually feel way too easy. Especially in the later parts of the game, things can get decently challenging if you're on Wild mode, which I really appreciated. The story of Kirby and the Forgotten Land starts out pretty basic, but the gorgeous cutscenes keep things interesting. This opening scene with Car Kirby in particular is fantastic, and by the end of the game, the story actually gets really good. I won't get into any spoilers, but the final 45 minutes totally blew me away. This game's final boss finale is better than both Breath of the Wild and Super Mario Odyssey in my opinion, and has quickly become one of my favorite final fights in a Nintendo game. All of the boss fights in this game are great, they just get better and better with each one. And there are multiple ways to approach each fight, thanks to the copy abilities, making the replayability really high. Going back to the first couple fights with a super upgraded copy ability and absolutely destroying the boss feels amazing. The main hub area for this game is Waddle Dee Town, which starts out as a pile of rubble but slowly starts to be rebuilt as you save the Waddle Dees. New buildings will pop up, opening up fun minigames that are a great side experience to keep you entertained. There's one where you take orders at the Waddle Dee Cafe, a little wooden puzzle box controlled by motion controls, and an amazing fishing one. Kirby also gets his own little house, which they totally didn't need to add, but I'm so glad they did. It's fun to have a little place you can call your own, and it also gave us these super cute cutscenes of Kirby sleeping. By the end of the game, Waddle Dee Town is totally transformed and looks incredible. You can even unlock a small band of Waddle Dees that will play music from the game, which I love. Adding in a music player to your game is a guaranteed way to make me happy. I absolutely love hub worlds and 3D platformers, and Waddle Dee Town is a great new addition to the list of greats alongside the Comet Observatory. There's also a world map, which you fly around on a warp star. I love 3D world maps like this one, so that's a huge plus for me. This world map also does another thing I love, which is having music that changes as you move through the different worlds. There's also a whole extra world once you beat the game that offers some remixed challenge levels, which is a nice little extra bit of content. The total length of this game isn't very long, but it's so much fun that I can easily see myself replaying it multiple times in the future. The visuals of Kirby and the Forgotten Land look fantastic. The levels are so vibrant and highly detailed that I constantly found myself stopping and just staring at the beautiful environments. Exploring a post-apocalyptic world overgrown with plant life isn't the first thing you'd connect with a Kirby game, but it works surprisingly well. There's everything from an old abandoned theme park to an ice-covered underground subway system. The world design was always surprising and exciting to explore. There are some stunning vistas in some of the levels that have a huge sense of scale. I've always loved the 2D Kirby games, but these sorts of shots are exactly why I'm so happy he finally made the transition into 3D. These types of environments just wouldn't be possible in 2D. The boss fights especially benefit from this new sense of scale, making the encounters feel even more epic and intense. The soundtrack also does a lot of the heavy lifting. I don't think I'll ever get tired of the many different amazing boss fight themes. All the music in this game is really great. It's so happy and joyful, which fits Kirby perfectly. This will probably end up being one of my favorite soundtracks of the year. The music matches the tone of the whole game, super cute and charming while getting surprisingly epic when it wants to. There are about 1,000 small details in this game that just make it so charming. The Waddle Dees faint dramatically when you hit them, Kirby gets a little swim tube when he's in the water, there's a little training dummy you can practice on named Mr. Sandbag, and so much more. This sort of stuff is exactly why I love Nintendo games so much, and it's on full display in Forgotten Land. If I had to sum up all of my thoughts on Kirby and the Forgotten Land in one word, I would say it's delightful. Everything about this game is so full of joy and creativity, and it's impossible not to have a smile on your face while playing. I haven't played every single entry in the Kirby series, but I can easily say that Forgotten Land is my favorite Kirby game of all time. 3D platformers aren't as common as they used to be, so we really have to appreciate when a new one as good as this comes along. I'm so glad Kirby made the jump to 3D, because it lets him prove why he's such an important part of Nintendo's legacy. I know we're only a few months into 2022, but I already have a strong contender for my personal game of the year. But what about you? Have you played Kirby and the Forgotten Land yet, and what did you think of it? Let me know down in the comments. This year is off to a great start with this game, and I can't wait to see what comes next. Thanks for watching guys, and I'll see ya in the next one.